What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with a vintage Kenner Star Wars market update. And it is a pretty incredible list of items that we have. I've got everything from mint on card, graded, ungraded, loose graded, and the prices in general support the idea that vintage Kenner stuff has not seen any slowdown. In fact, some of the sales prices make me really question whether these sales prices are legitimate or not, because some of them are well above market value. And I've got some other data that I'm going to kind of intersperse in here from Facebook that I thought people would find of interest. But I want to go ahead and dig right in. I hope that everyone's doing well today. First, we're going to start off with a beautiful 1978 Harbert Italian carded R2-D2. This was graded AFA 60. The subgrades were 70, 60, and 85. And these Harbert Italian cards are just incredible. I really love these a lot. And there it is, Garra. We've talked about that in the latest Power of the Force 2 update, that, that Garra card back transferred all the way to the 1990s. But this is one of the very, very first Italian market card backs that was out there, a 12-back R2-D2. Archival case, just really pretty. It was only a 60, but, these foreign cards, you're going to be paying big money no matter what. And I think in general that sales price is pretty fair. It's sold for $10.25. 34 bids. We saw in a certified link auction maybe a month or two ago, probably 2 months ago now, a Chewbacca that was graded AFA 80 sold for around $1,300. So given the much more in-demand character of R2-D2, and despite the fact that it was lower grade, that 1025 number seems pretty fair, despite the fact that it's fairly low grade. But a really cool card back. Here's the back. For those of you who've never seen the Garra card backs, these Harberts, are really pretty, and it's got, the Italian language there on the back. But wow, what an awesome item. All right, now we're going to dig into this seller, this SW seller. I don't know what to make of him. I mean, if he watches my market updates, I would really appreciate you to chime in here. But I know some other sellers that have sold on eBay, like Jeremy, who I've bought from in the past. He's convinced that there's a lot of shenanigans going on with this seller, and it's hard to argue. It's hard to argue with that when you see some of these sales prices that were in his latest auctions. I mean, this seller always has really, really high-end stuff. I've seen some of his stuff sell for very fair, and like I mentioned, I bought an AFA 85 Death Star droid loose graded for $200, which is about market. I mean, that's about the market rate for it. But then you have some of these others that sold in this auction, and I'm like, what is going on? What is going on? I have no idea. But this one was an AFA 85 Luke Skywalker, a standard Hong Kong. This is not like it's some rare variant. And, blonde hair, dark brown pants, archival case admittedly, but it's an older style case. It sold for $865. I mean, if you look at the torso there, it's already starting to discolor a little bit. It's very faint, don't get me wrong. It's still a beautiful item. I'm not trying to take away from the item at all. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous item. But I don't know. I don't know how you can pay $865 for that. It's just that's a good solid, I don't know, 30 or 40% above market. I was thinking $500 to $600 would be kind of the going rate right now. And I know it's an inflated market. I know that, but $865 is just crazy. Now this one is a little closer to reality, right? This was the same seller. Also closed this past weekend. This was a Death Squad Commander. Loose graded. It's got the dark blue emblem. Now this seller had another one of these, exact same item, exact same grade, that sold for about $220 a few weeks ago or a week ago, and this one sold for $240. So it's in the ballpark, right? This figure is in the ballpark. And then we have a blue Snaggletooth that sold. This is an AFA 85 old case. This is the less difficult to find toe dent version. You can see there in his bottom right of his foot there, it's got this little toe dent. This is the more common figure to find. And you can see there, look at his torso. His torso is already starting to discolor. It is still graded in 85, but $1,700? $1,700 is just insanity to me for a blue Snaggletooth. And maybe that's just the going rate. I don't know. But to me, we've seen some UKG graded examples. We've seen some lower AFA 80 plus-ish graded examples go for between $1,000 and $1,300. So an AFA 85 is now $1,700. Again, mine scored AFA 80. Collector Archive Services graded mine an 85 plus, and I think it's every bit of an 85 plus. It had no torso discoloration like this one does. You can see it's already starting to darken there, that torso. But I paid less than half that. Probably more like a third of that for mine, even after grading costs. So $1,700, it to me is crazy. And if you paid that, more power to you if that's what you want to pay. But I think that's a really, really high number. And then let's go back to the other end of the spectrum again. This was an AFA 85 loose graded R5D4. This is still a little high. Don't get me wrong. Now I paid a 180-ish, 200 for mine, for my 1978 Hong Kong AFA 85 R5D4 with the new case. This is exactly what I have. I paid about 180, maybe 200 after shipping costs, because I did buy mine from Dark Side Alliance in the UK. So the shipping costs were going to be pretty substantial. But that, it was a while ago, admittedly. But $255 seems a little high, or a lot high, But I paid about almost 200 for mine back in the spring of last year. So, we're a good solid, let's call it 8 to 10 months later. So $255, I think, is not too far outside of the realm of possibility. Very similar to the Death Squad Commander. So, but I think, and we're going to show one more here in a second, but this blue Snaggletooth for $1,700 and the Luke for $865. I mean, those are crazy numbers. Now, let's go back to the other end of the spectrum, and this is a different seller, and this seller has been on eBay for a while. I don't think I've ever bought anything from this seller, but he always seems to get really high prices, and this is another one where I'm like, how are you getting $1,128 for a standard Hong Kong dark? Now, AFA started labeling these dark green chest and light green chest, but the dark green chest is the normal version, in my opinion. And that one sold for $1,128. I mean, that's just crazy. A CAS 90 Taiwan Boba Fett sold for $725. Buy it now. And as another data point, as I alluded to at the beginning of this video, a 90 plus CAS Taiwan Boba Fett sold on Facebook in, I believe, the Deal or No Deal group for $1,725, believe it or not, for a 90 plus. For these Taiwan Boba Fetts are skyrocketing price. So relative to the Facebook, that's a Facebook sale. That's not an eBay sale. That's a Facebook sale. But $725 for a 90, and then a 90 plus sold on Facebook for $1,700. So I don't know what's going on, but Taiwan Fetts have really jumped, and now it looks like anything Boba Fett that's really high grade is just crazy. I mean, I've got some 85s and 85 pluses and U85s, and those prices are just astounding to me. If there's ever a time that you need to sell a Boba Fett, now's probably a pretty good time, folks. And on that note, I want to mention, before we kind of dig into these even higher prices that just shocked me, I did recently help out a channel subscriber with a sale of their large collection. It was a very, very expensive sale. I don't want to divulge numbers, but I try to help people out. I'm glad it worked out for all parties involved. But if you have a large collection and you need help finding a buyer for it, and you don't want to go the eBay route, we all just saw in my last video about how eBay just charges so many fees, and that you got taxes now being charged because the government is forcing that on eBay. Yes, I know eBay is not responsible for that. I don't care. eBay's got enough problems, okay? eBay has so many problems with their sales platform for both buyers and sellers. So if you got a large collection and you need help selling it, contact me, actionfiguregrader@gmail.com, or you can reach out to me on Instagram, which is @actionfiguregrader. I'm not trying to charge anybody for it. I'm not trying to make any money on it. I just want to help people out. So if you have a collection and you don't know how to, and you're looking to sell it with these inflated market prices right now, I do know several buyers that are willing to pay market value. So I'm more than happy to help out with that. Back to the programming, back to your regular scheduled programming. We've got an AFA 85 plus, a normal Hong Kong Yoda. This is the brown snake, admittedly, so it's a nice one. Brown snake, dark green skin. I've got one of these at CAS right now that I bought on Rogue 5 for about $140 or less. This one sold for $800. I fully expect mine to be graded a 90 with CAS. It was flawless. And this is an 85 plus, admittedly an 85. And this is probably what mine would score if I sent it into AFA. But an 85 plus just sold for $800. That is just, I'm blown away by these numbers. I mean, I bought a mint on card version for half that price. So, more power to you if you want to pay these crazy prices. But this is an older style case, and it's an awesome item. And I'm not trying to say I'm not trying to say this is not an awesome item. It's an awesome item. Anything 85 plus and 90, as we've talked about in the market updates, they continue to go up in value, and this is further proof that it seems like every single week with these 85 pluses and 90s with AFA that are loose graded, we're setting new high water marks. And this one and the blue Snaggletooth to me are new high water marks. Here was an AFA 85 Droids C-3PO. Now, I'm gonna say that this is market. This is a market price to me. I've seen these very regularly sell AFA 85s for this price or higher on Facebook. So again, this is another one where I don't think the seller did any shenanigans. I think this is the market rate. $761 for a loose graded Droid C-3PO is not unheard of. I mean, I've seen that. That's a very fair price in my opinion. But the Yoda, the Luke, and the blue snags are just craziness. Here was a really cool one. This was a Collector Archive Services graded 85 unarticulated Polish Leia. And this one I think was a very, very fair sales price. $409 for that I think was very fair, but a beautiful item. This was one of the older cases, very similar to the Hungarian Leia that I believe the same seller had this one, but this one graded 85 and unarticulated bootleg. This is from like the 1985 time frame. I wish they went back to this 1985 to 90. It's about an 85 to 87-ish time period, but they've really tightened that, or they've broadened the time frame to just say 1980s or 1990s for their bootlegs, which is fine. But the cases have definitely gotten better since these kind of dowel examples that you can tell this was an older case. But anyway, $409, I thought was a very fair price for that one. A few Diecast mint on cards sold. I thought these were really nice items. This one sold for $228. It did have some wear on this, which it had some pretty significant wear on this one. It had litho tear from the price tag removal. But the $228 for the TIE Fighter. I believe the same seller had this one. This was a really nice example. Unpunched X-Wing. This one sold for $539 plus shipping. I thought that was a very fair price. This one probably graded an 80. Probably graded an 80 for that one. That was a beautiful item. And the Snow Speeder was yellowed, but also unpunched. That one sold for $411, but apparently the buyer did not pay, so it came back up for sale. But that one was $411, 23 bids. I think that one's back on the market for about the same price, $400. So that gives you a data point there, but I think that was a very fair price for that one. A couple of Bosks also sold. I really wanted this one, but this one went way too high. This one sold for $695. This was the 47 back free 4-LOM offer. Clear blister. Probably would grade an 80 is my guess. Beautiful item though. That one was, again, $695 on 22 bids, but probably would grade an 80. Really nice example though. And then this one was another one at auction. This one sold for $430, unpunched. And also it looked like it probably would be a yellowed blister, but it's very faint. A very faint yellowed blister for a 77 back. I believe it was 77. Yeah, 77 back A Bosk. And it would probably grade a yellow 80 plus. But $430 for that one and $695. So Bosk, mint on card Bosks that are high grade have really jumped a lot. Have really jumped up. Now, this was another one. This was a buy it now situation. I knew this one was going to sell, but this one was a CAS 80 grade alternate card back Han Solo, 77 back A. It was graded 85, 85, 80, yellowed though, overall 85. And that one sold for $14.50. I bet I know who bought that one, but that one was a really, really nice example of the alternate card back. I think it's the alternate card back Han. And the same seller had this one, $599 was the buy it now price for an unpunched Leia Endor Combat Poncho Tri-Logo, Palitoy Tri-Logo. That was graded 80, 80, 90. So a very high grade example of that one. I thought that was a pretty fair price really for a Leia. This price kind of shocked me. This one was a yellowed 80, AFA 80, a Monomon, Power of the Force card back. But again, anything last 17 continues to command massive prices. Again, yellowed 80. The sub scores were 80, 85, 85, and that sold for $1,150 on 46 bids. So a very, very high sales price there for the Monomon, but it gives you another data point for those of you looking to get some last 17. I hope to get some last 17 this year. I really like the last 17. I don't have many of them. I think all I got really is the Yak Face, and then I've got a non-sonic welded overstock Paplu. But maybe we'll pick up a last 17 or two this year. This one was a Palitoy Barada tri-logo with the big new figure sticker. Now, for those of you who don't know, this sticker was actually applied in the factory, if memory serves. Someone told me that, but that was that big ugly sticker was actually applied in the Palitoy factory towards the end of the factory, kind of being production. That was an unpunched example, graded 75. The card got an 80, blister 70, figure 85. That one sold for $457. I think that was a pretty fair price, really, for a 75 grade Barada. So but anyway, some more data there. I mean, I don't know what to make of some of those loose graded figure prices, but it's just further proof that collectors are really gravitating towards extremely high grade. Not all collectors, obviously, but some collectors are gravitating towards very, very high loose grade figures, and they're willing to pay a massive premium for it. Part of it might be just space issues like I have, but or maybe they're worried about the figures coming off the blister. Maybe they're just worried about them yellowing over time. But some of these really high, and a lot of it too is to get a mint on card Boba Fett is so expensive now. I mean, they're just commanding massive prices. So as a natural result, there's a larger buyer pool now who don't want to pay thousands of dollars for a mint on card Boba Fett, but they're willing to pay big premiums for high grade, loose graded Boba Fetts. But it's not just Boba Fett, folks. We saw the Yoda, we saw the blue Snaggletooth, and then we saw the Lukes. But I'm just shocked by some of these prices. If you like these kind of market update videos, thanks so much for watching, and I hope you'll consider subscribing. Please leave a like if you like the video. It helps out the channel a lot. To all my existing subscribers, as well as my Patreon supporters, as always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll be back soon.